Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here, and welcome to a theory video. And this one is incredible. Okay, I'm hype about this one. All right, normally I'm like, all right, here are my thoughts. You know, like I'm about to use my imagination a little bit. You know, just theorize. But this one, like, this is why I like my theory vids. Like, you know, this is how I like them to be made. It has a lot of support. So let's start off with the story at the end of Mirage, because that's really important as to what Old Cobb's plans are. So if you're here, you're probably wondering, after reading the title, what does the third arc hold for us? You know, Old Cobb just kidnapped Mallory, and he said he's going to reclaim what is rightfully his. And then he promises the wizard that they'll see chaos beyond their wildest dreams. You know, something along those lines. So, you know, it's quite a threat. But it does leave you to wonder what kind of chaos could possibly happen. I mean, the dude literally tried to break apart the sky. The sky, bruh. So, I'm going to cite a few things, okay? But first, I am going to talk about the prophecy. Now, the prophecy that we were kind of introduced to at the very beginning of, you know, of the whole second arc with Morgant. It was very important, you know. The mirror will break, the horn will call, from the shadows I strike, and the skies will fall. Now, that's a small part of the prophecy. Now, it's very important because Morgant heard that prophecy from the spiders that she was kidnapped by, and she believed that the prophecy was about her because she thought she was a spider. You know, she thought that she was a spider queen or whatever, but really it was a spider king, grandfather spider, that it's about. But let's talk about those real quick. Okay, the mirror will break. We saw that when, I'm assuming, you know, this could be wrong, but we saw that in Zafaria when Mirror Lake broke. And the horn will call, that was most probably the horn of Huracan when, you know, in Azteca, or maybe the horns of Avalon, most probably the horn of Huracan. And, you know, so those two things were fulfilled. Now, when it says from the shadows I strike, I'm almost 100% sure that's about Old Cobb now. Old Cobb came from the shadows. Like, he's kind of like the embodiment of shadow, and he came out of that little enclosure that we freed him out of. And the skies will fall, I think that's a reference to Polaris. So, if we're going by the fact that the second half of that prophecy is in reference to Old Cobb, then let's look at the very end of the prophecy, and we'll see what Old Cobb is destined to do by the prophecy. It says, a shadow web hums and stretches beyond the stars, touching all the spiral with spiders' welcoming arms. Now, that line kind of just shows that Old Cobb wants to throw a lot of stuff out of bounds. He wants to control the entire spiral in his shadow web. Now, that really is kind of vague. It doesn't really tell us what's going to happen. So, I did some digging. So, let's get right into it, because this is a main part of it. I know it's a kind of a big introduction, but this is really, really cool. So, Wizard101 makes a lot of references. You know, there's a Harry Potter reference in Pigswick. There's a medieval reference in Avalon. You know, Merle Ambrose. You know, there are King Arthur, King Artorias. There are a ton of references throughout Wiz. But what I've never seen is a reference to a book. So what I ended up looking up, you know, I was very, very, you know, curious. Why in the world is Grandfather Spider called Old Cobb? So I looked up Cobb, the name Cobb, in the context of wizards. And I found this book from 1972. It's written by this author named Ursula Le Guin. Or Linguini. I don't know how to say it, alright? It sounds like Linguini, bro. I'm sorry. Alright. But the book is called The Farthest Shore. And get this, guys. There are 3 major events that happen in this before the end of it. But it starts off with a major epidemic where life is being sucked out of the spiral. That's literally what it is. You know, everyone's losing their power and their life force. Now, it's very, very reminiscent of our old friend Bartleby. Now, the whole third arc starts with Bartleby not feeling well, and we're treated to a look at Bartleby not, you know, literally suffering. So far the parallels are there. You know, the arc starts off with an epidemic, a disease. It was very creative until I found out they got it from a book. I'm sorry, but look at the brown leaves, bro. Look. My man's is dying a little bit. So there's that. Now, the second and third part of the book, The Farthest Shore, is that the primary protagonist, his name is Jed, crosses a large ocean to reach a dry land, and on the dry land, on the farthest shore, that's what the title's based off of, he ends up fighting this guy named Cobb. Now, Jed is a wizard, if you didn't figure that one out by now, and Cobb is, just a really powerful shadowmancer, or whatever you want to call it, some shadow creature, shadow wizard, whatever you want to call it. And what I found really funny was that the exact series of events corresponds with the Old Cobb saying the hidden lands and the broken shores. Now, broken shores is most probably in reference to, an oceanic world, a lot of seas and stuff, like maybe ships. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking with broken shores. I'm thinking you have to cross over a gigantic ocean, an ocean world, until you reach a hidden land. And now the hidden land is probably hidden because it's very far away. So, corresponds to the farthest shore. That is a little bit of a stretch. I think, the farthest shore, farthest shore and broken lands, hidden lands or broken shore, there are similar words here and there, but I can understand if people say it's a stretch. But the next part is definitely not a stretch, because I think just because the name is the same, I don't think it's a stretch. So in the book, The Farthest Shore, written by Linguini, I'll stop. I don't know what her name is. Ursula Linguini, right? Basically what his goal is to suck all the life out of the spiral. Now, what does this have to do with our Old Cobb, you may ask? Now, what I'm theorizing is based off of the end of Mirage. Now, the end of Mirage, basically what Old Cobb does, Mans kidnaps Mallory, says, I'll have all the answers I want now, and I'm gonna reclaim what is rightfully mine. Now, that reclaiming what's rightfully his is definitely the heart. Grandmother Raven locked him away, but kept his heart to create, basically. That's what's assumed, like, obviously, there's some answers, that I kind of want on that, but, like, overall, Grandmother Raven locked away Old Cobb, took his heart, and his heart was used to fuel all creation, and Old Cobb is not as strong or powerful because of that. So, Old Cobb wants the heart back. Now, I don't think Raven is just going to give up the heart, like, in no time at all. So, I think what's going to end up happening is that Old Cobb will have to do something awful, man, in order to coerce Grandmother Raven to give up the heart. And what I think is going to happen, now I don't know this for a fact, obviously, but this is a theory part of it. I think that, because the book is all about sucking away life, I think Old Cobb is going to try to kill Bartleby. Now, I don't think that's that far-fetched at all, because, first off, Mans is already dying. We returned his eye, but, like, I don't think that fixed anything, because Mans is still dying. So I think it's kind of a race against time as Bartleby dies. And in order to save his life, because Grandmother Raven, let's not forget, she might not care about the spiral as much. I don't think she actually cares about individual and lesser beings, but I doubt she'll let Bartleby die. I just, based off of their connection in history, they're all they had for the longest time, It was Raven's magic and Bartleby's roots that created the entire spiral. So in order to save Bartleby, I think Raven will give up the heart. And then Old Cobb will end up, being all powerful in the last world, and we'll end up, we'll end up doing that. Now, how is Bartleby gonna die? I don't know. I mean, we still have Mallory. We don't know what Mallory's gonna do as an evil person now, and we don't know what the bat's gonna do. What's interesting about the bat is that the bat is specifically meant to be a shapeshifter. So I think it would be really, really cool if the bat somehow, unlike the scorpion and the rat, was somehow relevant, in achieving something, and maybe the man's managed to infiltrate Bartleby and try to kill him, and then Raven intervenes and then gives up the heart. I don't know. I'm like, that's all, kind of like in my head, imagination, that kind of imagination. Oh no, but I think that's a theory for today, guys. I definitely found it very interesting how there's a book called The Farthest Shore, and we're trying to go to the broken shores, and the main antagonist is Old Cobb, in both of them. And in both of them, it seems like he's sucking the life out of the spiral to create what he thinks is the ideal world. So, I want your opinions, This video is always fun when I hear all of y'all's opinions. Now, all of y'all's opinions is that you want Theory Thursday back. as soon as Imperia drops, I'm sure Imperia's the next world, I will drop a few more Theory Thursdays maybe, or Theory videos. Today's definitely not a Thursday. I just felt like making this today. But, you know, I will drop some, you know, before Imperia drops, because I feel like that's going to be a couple of months, maybe a month, I don't know, until Test Run release drops. So, you know, there's still some time. I hope y'all enjoyed the vid. Slap that like button and drop a sub. If someone hasn't told you awesome today, they're doing something wrong. Write what your opinions are in the comments below. And stay awesome, bro. Yeah.